Pam from Dorothy's Daughter. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to all my new subscribers as well. Today is another episode of Friday Sewing School. Today we're going to talk about knits. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about knits today is that I believe our next sew along is going to start next week, and we're going to be doing the classic tee from Love Notions. So it's going to be, we've done our woven project, and now I would like us to do a simple knit project. So I wanted to talk a little bit about fabric choices and different things you need to do differently when you work with knits. So today, knits come in all different content. There's bamboo jersey, there's cotton jersey, there's cotton lycra, which is probably one of my favorites. There's ITY, which is an interesting sort of interlock. I don't forget what that stands for, but it's a different kind of a knit. There's the double brushed polys, which if you're familiar with like LuLaRoe and how soft their leggings are, that's double brushed poly. That's what that is. It's just the softest, nicest fabric. And there's also polyester double knits, Liverpool, which has a texture. There's your sports performance knits that are a lot of nylon in them, but the techniques remain the same. The care and use of the knits may be different with each type, but the actual sewing of them is going to be pretty close to the same. Differences being like some of them that have a lot of nylon may not take an iron real well. So for that, you're going to want to take care always when I have a knit. If I don't know the exact content, what I do is I will take a little square of it, swatch of it, and I will test it with my iron and see kind of how hot can I go, just to make sure, because you don't want to. I just worked with scuba for the first time this past weekend, and I love it. It was great to work with, but it doesn't really press that well. I mean, even when you press it, it doesn't stay there. So, it's a different kind of way of handling it in that respect. But for the first project, I would suggest you get a knit with some perhaps cotton lycra would be a good choice. A cotton jersey would be a good choice. A rayon jersey would be a good choice. Something washable, something sort of wearable for the summer months, because I know it is very hot where I am, so I'm pretty sure it probably is where you are as well. And matter of fact, I'm filming this in my sewing room, and right now the air conditioning's broken, so I'm upstairs and it's pretty toasty up here. So if you see sweat dripping down my face, that's why. And that's why I'm sitting here in a sleeveless shift as well. Cotton rayon challis, very light and airy. Anyway, also I want to apologize for no Tuesday video this week. I had no voice, so I did not record a video on Tuesday because you wouldn't have understood me. So I'll pick back up this coming Tuesday with something kind of fun for you. So I was going to do my June wrap up and July plans, and I had a little fabric haul to show you, except I think I'm sewing it all up before then, so it won't really be a fabric haul anymore. I'll just show you what I made. Anyway, I would suggest that you get just a regular t-shirt knit is great. Now, the t-shirt does have bands, neckline bands. If you get 100% like a ribbed cotton, sometimes when you stretch it, it won't come back. That's called recovery. So if you take a knit and you stretch it and it does not come back, I think I might have here. I have a piece. This is actually an armband that I have cut for a tank that I'm doing, and this is some cotton lycra. So when I stretch it, you see how it comes back. It comes right back. If you pull it and it stays, that's not a good choice for something that has a neckband. In that case, I would purchase a contrasting color for a neckband or something. About the only one that's just really tricky like that is like your ribbed cotton, like the baby rib. Things like they make like little baby onesies out of. Sometimes those do not recover well. So I would, when you're in the store, just pull on it a little bit and make sure that, you know, you feel it come back with your fingers when you do that. Because you'll get a lot better results that way. So a couple things about working with knits. One, of course, you want to wash your fabric first, and that is with any fabric that you purchase, unless it's not washable, you definitely want to wash it first. Excuse me, my throat is still kind of tight there. You want to make sure that you wash your fabric first because it has some cotton content. It likely will shrink. What I do is with my knits, if they have cotton in them, I go ahead and I wash them on warm and put them in a low dryer. And that's the last time they ever see those temperatures, because I'll wash them after I've made it. I'll wash it in cold and then just a couple seconds really in the dryer and hang it up. So, you know, you wash it as hotter than, you know, warmer than you'll ever wash it, and then you know that it's not going to shrink anymore. You can find knits anywhere. Joann's actually had a whole lot of them on sale last week. I'll show you a real pretty one. This is part of the fabric haul I was going to show you on Tuesday. I'm in love with this yellow knit. I'm going to make a tank maxi out of this one. This was on sale last week for $5.99. So they had a lot of them. I don't know if they're still on sale, but Joann's would be a good place to check for that. Raspberry Creek online has a lot of great knits. That's a good store to check out. You know, I'm not a knit snob, and I don't know, I'm not calling anyone a snob, but there's certain things, like I have only certain brands of like coffee that I like. My husband calls me a coffee snob, and I'm not like that with knits. If I can tell the quality when I feel a knit. So I mean, if I find a knit on the sale table at Hobby Lobby, or even Walmart, dare I say, if it has good recovery and if the content has, you know, the normal what I'm looking for, like cotton lycra or cotton or lycra is also called spandex, or, you know, a little bit of rayon in it or whatever, you know, as long as I like the content, I like the, you know, colors, and you know, I feel pretty sure that it's going to recover. You know, just wash it good though. If you buy cheap fabric, definitely the colors could fade, so definitely wash it and make sure the colors aren't going to fade on you. But other than that, I think it's fine to use especially for your first few projects, because you don't want to spend a great deal for your first couple times. It will be just like we did with Cadence. We're going to make a wearable muslin out of this t-shirt. So buy something not too expensive so that you can feel okay about cutting into it and about making a mistake and ripping it out, because you might, and you know, about doing some fitting with it and that kind of thing. So we're going to consider this a wearable muslin. Most of you will probably be able to just wear your t-shirts. They're not that hard to fit. I did pick the classic tee for a couple reasons. One is that they have cup sizes, so you automatically have your bust adjustments without having to learn how to do that. So we will learn how to do that down the road, and if you want to learn how to do that, I will once again point you to a video that my friend Whitney did on a full bust adjustment. And so if you need to look at that again, I'll link her video below, because she did a much better job than I could do. And honestly, why reinvent the wheel? She's got a great video on it, so I'm going to point you to that. But you probably will not need to do that with a classic tee. So a couple things to keep in mind with knits. One, you want to use, if you have a serger, that's perfect. Most people starting out do not have a serger, at least not yet. So it's possible to do it all on a regular sewing machine. A couple things to keep in mind though. The reason a serger is nice is because a serge seam stretches. Here is a serged seam. And as you can see, it stretches. So you want to definitely have something that stretches with the stretchy fabric. Otherwise, if you would stretch it to put it on over your head or over your arm, what's going to end up happening is you're just going to see stitches go pop, 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 and nobody wants that. So the way you can get around that with a regular sewing machine is by using either they have a stretch stitch, some of them. I don't like them stretch stitch on sewing machines usually because they are slow and they use a gigantic amount of thread because they go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. I'm kind of impatient. So what I do is I just use a narrow zigzag. You can go really narrow with it, and it really doesn't look much different than a straight stitch, but it's just enough that the fabric will give. Use a stitch length of about maybe 2.2 and a 0.5 to 1 width on the zigzag, and that'll be plenty to have just enough stretch. You don't have to worry about it quite as much with up and down seams because the stretch goes this way across the grain of the fabric. So the ones that go with the grain probably aren't going to get a lot of stretch. It's the ones, the necklines and the waistbands and those kind of parts that you're going to want to sew definitely with a stretch stitch of some kind. Zigzag works perfectly well. And as we go on with doing the t-shirt, I will demonstrate. I will make a t-shirt completely on a regular sewing machine with you so that you can see that it can be done. Also, you can use a twin needle to do your hemming, which is what I use. Twin needle stretches. A lot of people have cover stitch machines, which does that kind of finish that you get on t-shirts in the store where it's a double row of stitching and then it looks serged on the back. A twin needle will do that fairly well. It's not as nice as a cover machine. I don't have a cover stitch machine either. I want one. If somebody wants to give me one, hey! But I don't have one, so I do use my twin needle a lot. So, but there again, it's on a hem, on a t-shirt, it's got to stretch. Otherwise, it's just going to be like constricting around your hips and probably just pull out eventually. So definitely need to use something that stretches. Another couple tips, another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use pattern weights to cut out your pattern. Make sure if it's a super stretchy knit that it's not stretched out laying on your cutting table. So what I'll do is the stool that I'm sitting on is here at the end of this cutting table. I will pull the bulk of the rest of the fabric onto the stool so that it's supported and not just pulling down to the floor. And then I'll put my pattern weights here on the end to make sure that it's not being pulled in any direction when I cut it out. So you'll lay your pattern down and then you want to use a rotary cutter. It's much better for knits, much more exact, and you can make sure that it's not stretched out. Just pulling the fabric to cut with scissors can sometimes stretch it in weird directions. So I use my rotary cutter for knits, always, always, always. Another couple things that are helpful to have. I use a lot of clear elastic when I work with knits for a couple different things. I use clear elastic for like a lot of things, but for knits I will use it in the shoulder seams to stabilize them. And I will also use it on waistbands sometimes so that you have if it's a gathered waistband, you'll have a gathered waistband that also kind of stretches so that when you pull it over your head, you don't hear it pop, 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 pop. It gives. Another thing that you can use this for is to do some shirring with it. And someday I'm going to show you my cool trick for putting in, and this is going on wovens here, but I have a cool trick for putting in a set-in sleeve with clear elastic. So one of these days that's going to be on a tip that I will demonstrate to you. So those are the kind of the main tips for working with knits. The other thing you want to do is only stretch it when they tell you to. So if you are, when you get to put in a band, which don't worry, because I will demonstrate it to you when we get to that part, you're going to stretch just the band around the opening of the neckline so that when you let it go, it just forms that nice rounded neckline without sticking up in any way or anything. That's when you want to stretch it. However, you just want to stretch the band and not the rest of the fabric. So you want to make sure that you're not stretching most of the time, unless you're easing something in or stretching on purpose. Sleeves on knits are like so easy. I mean, it's night and day from putting them into a woven. So yeah, I really enjoy, that's our first time putting in sleeves. It's going to be with a knit because it's so much easier than a woven. Some people like to use a walking foot for knits. I honestly never use my walking foot for anything. If you saw my video last time, I'm not crazy about just the size and bulk and can't see what I'm doing of a walking foot. I just don't like it. So I'll use a roller foot sometimes, but most of the time, if you use the right stitch, you don't really have to use a walking foot. But some people really like it, so I won't say that one way is better than the other in that respect, but I have not ever needed to use a walking foot on knits. Thread, you want to use a polyester thread so that also has a little bit of give. You don't want to use like a cotton thread because that also won't give. So you want to make sure the Dual Duty Plus that they sell is great. Gutermann has some great thread. So just make sure it's got some polyester in it so that it's not going to just snap on you. Yeah, so those are basically the tips about knits that I think you really need to know to start off. I'll be pointing out a lot more to you as we go. When you can begin to look for your fabric. Next week we will go over measurements and all those things about the classic tee pattern. And but if you want to shop for fabric ahead of time, feel free to do that. You can download the pattern from Love Notions, and it's not free, but it is a very good pattern to have. It has a lot of options. So I will put a link below to that pattern for you, and that's the one we'll be following. Honestly, you could use just about any t-shirt pattern and follow along because they're all pretty close to the same. So the Love Notions t-shirt is the one that I will be demonstrating. And yeah, just start shopping. Look for just a nice knit with some recovery, especially for the neckband. You want to make sure it's not a knit that won't recover. That's about all I have on knits today for you. I'll just close. Oh, the other thing you need, I'm sorry, I did forget something. The other thing you need is a ballpoint needle. If you use a regular needle on knits, you're going to skip stitches all over the place. So definitely use a ballpoint needle, which separates the fibers without cutting them. So it's very important with knits. Go ahead and I'll put a link to some as well. These are very inexpensive Oregon needles. I think they're great. I just started using them. I wanted to try them because they are so much cheaper than a lot of brands. I like being able to change my needle after pretty much every garment, and I don't, I think changing them more often is more important than having, an expensive needle. So I like these organ needles a lot, and I change them very, very, very frequently. This minute you think that anything weird is going on with your sewing machine, the very first thing you should do is change your needle. If I could give anybody the best sewing tip, that is it. If something is wrong, you think your sewing machine is messing up, before you freak out and think something's wrong with it, change your needle. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the needle is either bent a little or lost its sharpness or whatever. So use ballpoint needles with knits. I've been sewing knits since when I was in high school. My mom and I took stretch and sew classes. Well, I was at high school. Let me see what the copyright is on this book, because sometimes I get messed up with time. This book, yeah, high school. This was first in 1973, and that's probably about when we bought this book. This was my mom's book, but we shared it. We took stretch and sew classes together, which took the sewing world by storm, because it was the first time we would sew ready to wear type knits at home, and she showed us how to do that. And these pattern weights are from Stretch and Sew. I still have them from high school. So of course, weights are weights. There's nothing wears out on a weight, right? But these are there's great tips. I think this book is out of print. I don't even think they print it anymore, but I love it because it's a walk down memory lane for me to look through this book. Like my mom has lots of notes, like right here. She has her measurements and my measurements that we both put in there, and needless to say, my measurements aren't what they are there anymore, but and I thought I was fat then. So oh well. But anyway, this is a great, it was a great way to learn. Nowadays everybody works with knits, so it isn't a big deal, but it was quite the eye-opening journey at that time for my mom and I, because all we had up to that point was wovens, and yeah, it was just a blast. Remember, that was when polyester double knit pantsuits were all the rage, so my mom and I probably made, oh my goodness, so many of those. And then pullover dresses, like polo shirt type dresses. I had a lot of those that one summer. And yeah, so I'm comfortable with knits because of starting to work with them so young. So it's almost second nature to me. So as we go along, I will be pointing out things that I probably didn't remember to tell you now. But the other thing, let me just, one more point, is that you want to make sure your pins are in good shape. If you're going to pin and sew, a lot of times people don't even use pins with knits. I do, but make sure that they're nice and sharp and there's no roughness to them, so that they don't snag your knits. So it's not a bad time to break out new needles or new pins is when you're working with knits. So yeah, we'll start off with a t-shirt knit, and who knows where it'll take us. I now make all my own bathing suits, and I'm comfortable with making just about anything in a knit. So anyway, I think it's going to be a fun journey. So have a wonderful day. Stay cool wherever you are in this summer. I know some of you are having winter right now. Can I just say I'm jealous, because it's like 93 and I'm up here with no air conditioning in the second floor. I have my own little sweatshop up here. But I'll be going downstairs and editing video. We do have some air downstairs, so I will be editing my video in some air comfort here in just a few moments, so I'll be fine. Anyway, have a wonderful day and happy sewing.